Jace's Own World with another video coming at you right now. I just want to say, during this pandemic, I hope everybody is really safe and that you're able to spend some quality time with your family or the friends that you love. I really hope that we can all come together and get through this pandemic, this serious situation that we're going through right now. But besides all that, I am coming at you with a new video about the five worst mods that you can do for your MK7 GTI. Even though this car is really beautiful on the outside and that it can be a really quick car, there are actually some mods that don't do anything for your car. And so in my personal opinion, I'm going to give you the 5 top mods that don't give you any performance, also known as the worst mods for your MK7 GTI or any other GTI or turbo car in that matter. Subsequently, I'm also going to give you 3 of the mods that I have done myself that I have disliked the most. And I'll explain that to you further in this video. Thanks for coming in and watching this video, and hope you like it. Alright, number 1 of the worst performance mods you can do for your MK7 GTI. And remember, this is all in my opinion, so don't take me super serious like my opinion is the only one that matters. No, this is mostly for me, but also I'm relating this to the amount of money that people spend on these mods that really don't give you any type of performance. So, with that said, number 1 is an aftermarket intake. And the reason why is because these intakes are so expensive. There have been test after test after test on aftermarket intakes, whether that be open intake or closed intake, for the MK7 GTI and also other GTIs of past generations that do nothing for the performance of your vehicle. Now, an open intake can cost around $200. Some, I guess, are a little cheaper than that, but $200 to $400 or $500 depending on the brand that you get. Now, for an open intake, that's going to have the cone and the filter being open so that more air can directly hit that filter immediately. It's called an open cold air intake. But there have been tests on this that give you less power in your car. They actually heat soak a lot more. And so a cold air open intake is just not that great for this car. Yes, it will give you a lot of psh, whoosh, like turbo sounds, which is the main benefit about getting an open intake. But other than that, it degrades the performance of your vehicle. There's also closed intakes that can range from, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800, $900, $1,000, guys. That very expensive mod. And it gives you that nice, aftermarket look. Some of it comes in carbon fiber and it looks pretty in the engine bay, which I believe for me would be the only reason to get an aftermarket intake. But other than that, the OEM stock intake, which is also a closed intake, does the same exact thing as these really expensive aftermarket closed intakes. So that is the reason why number 1, an aftermarket intake, is the worst mod that you can do for the MK7 GTI. Number 2 for the worst performance mod that you can do for your MK7 GTI is a turbo inlet pipe. Now, these are not very expensive, so if you want to get this, you can get it for less than $100 on sale, which I did. And they're cool to look at, they're cool to know that you have, but as far as performance, it doesn't give you any type of performance. It doesn't give you any throttle response. I have one on my car, I have the CTS turbo one, but I have not noticed a single thing that the turbo inlet pipe does outside of just me knowing that I have it, and that's about it. So as far as performance, this is one of the worst mods that you can do for your car, which is why it's number 2. Number 3 of worst performance mods for your Mark 7 GTI, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying this, but it's an exhaust. An exhaust, not meaning a downpipe, because a downpipe, which is the first part of your exhaust coming from the exhaust side of the turbo, getting an aftermarket downpipe is a 100% must and one of the best mods that you can do for your car. But anything after the downpipe is just a waste of money. The only thing that an exhaust does for your car is give it cool sounds. I mean, that's about it. If you're into that type of thing, that's awesome. Go for it. You know, spend the money on it, but it's not going to give you any type of performance outside of maybe some weight reduction. You'll probably save like 20 or 30 so odd pounds, or maybe a little bit more for getting an exhaust. But other than that, it just gives you sound and no performance. It doesn't help flow the car, it doesn't help with throttle response. And so this is the reason why it is number 3 on this list. But get yourself a downpipe. I have a catless downpipe. I love it. It gives me that sound that I like. Not just crazy sound all the time, but at least a little bit more than stock. And so, but it also restricts, it helps, not restrict, but it helps the flow a lot more, because the stock one has the cap in it, which is very restrictive. So get yourself a downpipe, but other than that, a catback exhaust or even a muffler is just, you know, it's just not worth it for the performance. So that's number 3. Number 4 of the worst performance mods you can do for your Mark 7 GTI. And I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this one too, but it is lowering springs. They're not very expensive. I get that. You can get them for like $200, $300. And you know, you put them on your stock struts. And once you put them on, it gives you a lowered ride height, which looks a lot cooler, and it gives you a little bit better of handling. But outside of that, they're just not going to give you the performance that you're looking for. It's mostly for the aesthetic lowered look that people are wanting and desiring. It will eventually mess up your stock struts if you run them for a long period of time. I'm talking about tens of thousands of miles. It doesn't give you any controlled dampening like a coilover does. And so for me personally, I say if you're wanting to lower your car, which we all want to lower our car because we want that stance, we want it to look better like this, right? We want it to look cool. Go ahead and save yourself some money for a couple months, hold out and buy some coilovers. I have BC Racing coilovers on my car. They're a very entry-level coilover. They cost me $995, I believe, and I installed them myself. So out the door, it was $995. That's all it took. But for me, it was worth the cost to spend more on an entry-level decent set of coilovers compared to just getting some springs and lowering my car and then wanting to do coilovers in the future anyway. So get yourself some coilovers. They give you the adjustment for the dampening as also you get the adjustment of the preload, which you don't really want to mess with, but the best thing about it is you can adjust the dampening. When I go to the canyons, I stiffen mine up and it takes like not even 5 minutes. I pop the hood, I twist them, and I just get underneath my wheel over here and I twist them. When I go on road trips, I soften them up so it's not so rough and bouncy on the road. That's the great thing about a coilover. You cannot do that with springs. You're just going to get a really bouncy ride all the time, because the spring that you're going to get most likely is not going to be made for the strut that comes with the car as an OEM strut. So get yourself some coilovers and do not get yourself some lowering springs. That's number 4. All right, last but not least, mod number 5, that is the worst as far as performance goes for your Mark 7 GTI, any previous gen GTI, or any turbo car, or any car in general. And that is a catch can. Why? Why is a catch can one of the in the top 5 of my list of worst performance mods? Because you don't need one. Unless you're running these crazy amounts of power, you just don't need one. A lot of these guys, they get a stage 2 tune, and because someone on the forum or some tuner that doesn't know what they're talking about told them that they need one, they go ahead and go and get one. And these catch cans are not cheap. They're hundreds of dollars. Now, I mean, it looks great in your engine bay, but it doesn't give you any performance. It doesn't save your engine. If you're having debris go through your engine or your intake, sleeves or anything like that, if you're trying to prevent carbon buildup, it doesn't really help prevent it. There have been countless amount of GTIs, not only in past generations, but even on the Mark 7 generation end of it, that have had catch cans and then have gone into their intakes, in their valves, and seen a lot of carbon buildup. Now, isn't a catch can supposed to prevent that? Yes, it is. Why are we getting carbon buildup? Well, part of it is due to the way that the valves are set up and the injectors being sprayed into them. But it's just an expensive mod that you don't need. I would say the only time that you really need a catch can, and this is just personal opinion, remember, is when you go big turbo, when you're pushing 450, 500 horsepower, wheel horsepower, and you need to do an internal, engine rebuild. When you're pushing these amounts of power and getting a lot of oil coming through your engine, then yeah, you might want to get it. But if you're just a stage 2 IS-20 or even an IS-38 with a custom tune or just a generic off-the-shelf tune, you don't need this mod. So that's the reason why I named that number 5 for the 5 worst mods that you can do for your GTI. All right, just like I told you I was gonna give you some news on the 3 worst mods that I personally have done to the car that I've been very disappointed with. And so I'm gonna start off with number 1. Number 1 was a blow-off valve. I had a stage 2 tuned from Uridine on 91 octane, and I was on IS-20, and I decided I want that turbo noise, right? I wanted that psh every time I shifted gears, because I have a manual, so it sounds a lot cooler when it does that, in my opinion. But I wanted that sound. This is my first turbo car, so I decided to get a Turbo Smart 50/50 blow-off valve. The 50/50 circulates 50 back into the intake, just like a diverter valve, and then 50% out into the atmosphere. That's what it does. And you can adjust it more or less, depending on what you want. But the reason why I have disliked having that on my car is because when I put that on my car, my turbo blew. The story behind that was my turbo blew. I did not have an intercooler on my car at the time when I was stage 2 IS-20. I was on a road trip and I popped it into 4th and saw smoke coming out the back of my tailpipe. Right then and there I knew something was really wrong and found out that the turbo blew. But the thing that I think I was doing wrong with the car was, number 1, I had a blow-off valve on my car, and I think I had it too tight, too stiff, which was creating pressure in the turbo. And that mated with not having an aftermarket intercooler to help cool down the air. I think the air just got too hot. I was at too high of an elevation. I was already heat soaked, and when I popped it into 4th gear, the turbo just decided to blow and just leave me stranded. So Ever since I had that turbo blow and I got an IS-38 turbo, I decided to take off my blow-off valve and resort back to the upgraded version of the stock diverter valve. And ever since I did that, I've not had a single problem with my car. Granted, I do have an aftermarket intercooler on my car too, but I believe that the diverter valve that comes with the car stock is not what I just believe, but also there have been tests that the diverter valve is very sturdy. Some people are pushing 500 wheel horsepower with these cars with the stock diverter valve, and they're doing just fine. So I really regret getting that blow-off valve. Who knows if my turbo would have blown or not, but I do believe that it had a part to do with the turbo blowing. So that's why it's number one of the worst mods that I personally have done and been dissatisfied with. Number two of the most unsatisfying mod that I have done to my car was charge pipes. A lot of people will also, say that you definitely need them when you go IS-38, but I have been IS-38 for a good year on a custom tune through Frank Mabo, and I haven't used aftermarket charge pipes. I still have the stock charge pipes that come with the car. Charge pipes are expensive to get. I once had an EQT turbo, which is another story, but I no longer have that turbo. But when I bought it with the charge pipe package, and they were fine. I never had any issues. But the only reason why I bought them is because people were saying, "Oh, you need charge pipes to get IS-38 or a hybrid IS-38. You definitely need them. You cannot use a stock one." So that's the only reason why I bought them. Well, I found out that I don't really need them. I didn't feel any different throttle response when I had them on with my EQT. I haven't had any issues with the stock charge pipes, cracking or blowing up under pressure due to the extra air that's being pushed through the IS-38. I haven't had any issues with them. Now, I have switched out my charge pipe clamps. I got rid of the stock ones and I put some nice T-clamps on there, which are a lot stronger. So I think that has something to do with why I haven't blown any charge pipes or anything like that. But as far as needing to having to get them for an IS-38 or a hybrid IS-38, it's not true, because I don't run them myself and I just run the OEM one. So that's number two that I regret getting for my car, is the charge pipes, because they just weren't needed and they were just an extra cost for the car. All right, the third and final thing that I have disliked getting on my car, it's not really a dislike per se, it's just a dislike because there are better options, and you'll understand what I mean when I get into it right now. So the number three is an off-the-shelf tune, namely like APR, Unitronic, Eurodyne, all sorts of other stuff, Cobb. I'm not saying these are bad mods to do, because a lot of you guys run these tunes and have not had any issues with them. But me personally, I have in the past run Eurodyne software. I ran it stage 1.5 and stage 2 with my IS-20. I ran it stage 2 high torque with my IS-20, and I also ran it a stock file with my IS-38 with the high torque as well. Every single turbo that I had that I ran that software on, that off-the-shelf generic software on, blew. I had my IS-20 turbo blow, I had two IS-38s blow, and another IS-38 with a bent fin, which is not really related with the tune, but I'm just saying that I had 3 turbos blow utilizing just an off-the-shelf tune through Eurodyne. There have been others who have blown turbos using off-the-shelf tunes, and that's not just with Eurodyne software, that's also with APR. If you go to the forums, you can check that out for yourself. There's plenty of write-ups about it. Now, maybe I was just one of the unlucky ones and I just didn't mount my car right in the beginning and that's why it blew, but I will say that ever since I got my new IS38 turbo and have decided to get a custom tune for it, custom to elevation that I'm running, custom to heat, custom to what's it called? Custom to the octane that I use, custom to how soft I want the car to run, meaning how economical I want it to be, custom to boost by gear, custom to no lift shift, all this extra stuff that you don't normally get in an off-the-shelf tune. Some tunes you do, but not normally. You can get in a custom tune. Now, who I use through my custom tune is I use Frank Mabo, and he uses the Maestro platform that's offered through Eurodyne software. It's he goes in there and he's the tuner and does all the stuff himself, which is really cool. And ever since I have gone custom tune with him, I have not had a single issue on this car. This car is running so good now, I don't even want to touch it. I just want to wash it and drive it, that's all I want to do. But I don't want to touch the engine, I don't want to do anything because it's running so good and it's so much more economical and so much more powerful than I was ever getting with my off-the-shelf Eurodyne tunes. I am averaging on the highway with the custom tune that I have, I'm averaging between 37 miles per gallon and I have gone up to 42 miles per gallon on the highway with the custom tune. In the city, when I'm on it, I'm averaging about 23 to 26 or 27 miles per gallon, which is about normal. But I mean, I'm getting really good gas mileage with this car now. With the custom tune before, when I was off the shelf, I was probably averaging 32 to 34 miles per gallon on the highway, and about the same for the city. It just wasn't as good. But the great thing about it is it's more powerful. I have boost by gear, so in first gear, I believe I'm maxing out at 18 PSI. Second gear, I'm around 20. Third gear, I'm 24. And fifth gear, I'm 25 or 6, something like that. I have to recheck again. But it is really nice having the boost by gear because that way I'm not spinning so much in first or second gear, and I'm actually gripping a lot more. Something that you cannot get with off-the-shelf tune. Another cool thing is I have the no-lift shift, which is pretty awesome. What no-lift shift is basically if you have a manual in your car, you can just get on the gas full throttle with your right foot, and when you shift to the next gear, you can keep your foot on the gas and clutch in with your left foot and pop it into the next gear and continue to keep your foot on the gas. What no-lift shift does, it prevents the RPMs from rising and basically destroying your engine. So it's a really cool function of having a custom tune with your vehicle. But enough with the custom tune. Number 3 is off-the-shelf tune for me personally, just because I haven't had very good luck with off-the-shelf tunes. Like I said, there's a lot of you out there who are running it, which is completely fine and cool. But I will say, if you ever are looking to do anything more with your tuning of your car, go custom. Not APR, but Eurodyne Maestro program is pretty awesome. But Cobb Axis Port is also another great way to utilize a custom tune. So go get your custom tune, throw away those off-the-shelf tunes, And yeah, so that's number 3 of my disliked mods that I've done to my car. So there you go, guys. There's the 3 most disliked mods that I've done to my vehicle. I love my car, but there are some things that I wish I didn't do, which I just described to you. But I really enjoyed making this video for you today. I really hope you liked it. Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for future videos. And my school semester just started. I'm taking anatomy and communication anatomy lab, and it's condensed in summer period, so I am kind of stressed out between that and work. It's just going to be crazy for me. And then on top of trying to make these videos for you, which I do enjoy, but it does take some time out of the other busy schedule that I have. So I'm hoping that I can make another video soon here for you. I'm also planning to get some camera equipment and set up my YouTube channel a little bit better so that I get better video, better audio, better everything all around, and so that you guys can enjoy better content. It's not just for me, I enjoy it, but it's also mostly for you guys so you can enjoy these videos. So hit that notification bell, like and subscribe to this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll check you guys out in the next video. Peace.